Your boss just called you incompetent in front of the entire team. Your face is burning red. Your jaw clenches. Your fists ball up under the table. Every cell in your body is screaming to defend yourself, to attack back, to prove him wrong right now. And you're about to say something that will destroy your career forever. But what if you didn't? What if instead of exploding, you did something that would make everyone in that room question if you're even human? What if you paused, stayed completely calm, and responded with surgical precision that leaves your boss speechless? This isn't fantasy. This is exactly what Miyamoto Musashi did in 61 life-or-death duels. And he never lost once. Musashi wasn't the strongest samurai. He wasn't the fastest. But he had developed something that made him unbeatable. A 3-second rule that separated him from every opponent who faced him. While his enemies reacted on instinct, Musashi operated on a different level entirely. And today, you're going to learn this exact rule. Because the same technique that kept Musashi alive in sword fights will keep you in control when life tries to make you lose it. The 3-second rule. It sounds simple. It's not. Most people can't do it. But once you master it, you'll never lose an argument again. Not because you'll win every debate, but because you'll transcend the need to fight in the first place. Let me show you exactly how it works. Musashi's most famous duel was against Sasaki Kojiro, considered the greatest swordsman in Japan at that time. Kojiro was known for one thing: speed. His strike was so fast that opponents would be dead before they realized they'd been cut. Everyone who faced him made the same fatal mistake. They saw his sword move and reacted instantly, and they died instantly. Musashi knew this, so he did something no one expected. When Kojiro's sword came down, Musashi didn't react. For exactly 3 seconds, he did nothing. He paused, he observed, and then, only then, did he respond. By the time he moved, Kojiro's strike had already committed. His body was off balance, and Musashi's wooden sword crushed his skull in one blow. 3 seconds. That's all it took to defeat the undefeatable. But why 3 seconds specifically? Why not 2? Why not 5? Here's what neuroscience tells us. When someone triggers you, whether it's an insult, a threat, or a challenge, your amygdala, the primitive part of your brain, fires immediately. This happens in about 200 milliseconds. You feel the surge of anger or fear instantly. Then, your body follows. Adrenaline floods your system. Your heart rate spikes. Your muscles tense for fight or flight. This entire physiological reaction takes about 1 to 2 seconds. But here's the critical part. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain that can actually think strategically, takes 3 to 4 seconds to fully activate. This is why most people lose arguments. They respond at the 2-second mark, right when their primitive brain is in control, but their rational brain hasn't caught up yet. They say things they regret. They make threats they can't follow through on. They expose weaknesses they didn't know they had. Musashi understood this intuitively. 3 seconds is the minimum time needed for your rational mind to override your reactive instincts. It's the gap between being controlled by your emotions and controlling them instead. But here's where most people fail. They think the 3-second pause is about waiting. It's not. It's about what you do in those 3 seconds. If you just sit there panicking internally, you've gained nothing. The pause only works if you follow the system. And Musashi's system had 3 distinct stages. Stage 1. The first second, pause. The moment you feel triggered, and you will know when it happens because your body tells you immediately, you do one physical action. You take a conscious breath, not a deep breath, not a calming breath, just one deliberate inhale through your nose. This is not about relaxation. This is about creating a pattern interrupt. Your brain is expecting you to react. When you breathe instead, you break the automatic response chain. Musashi called this cutting the first impulse. In his duels, the first impulse was always fear or excitement. Both got you killed. So he trained himself to recognize the impulse and sever it before it controlled his body. You do the same. You feel anger rising. You inhale. You feel fear creeping in. You inhale. The breath is your sword cutting through the reactive pattern. Here's what this looks like in real life. Your boss insults you. Immediately your face gets hot. Your jaw tightens. Instead of speaking, you inhale through your nose. Just once. Your boss is still talking. You're not responding yet. You're in stage 1. 1 second down. Stage 2, the second. Observe. Now that you've interrupted your automatic reaction, you have a tiny window to gather information. This is where Musashi's genius really shows. While his opponents were swinging wildly, he was watching. He observed 3 things simultaneously. First, his own internal state. Where was his fear? Where was his anger? Not to suppress it, but to know it was there. Second, his opponent's state. Were they balanced? Were they committed to their attack? Were they exposing weakness? Third, the environment. Where was the sun? Where was the terrain? What were the escape routes? You do the exact same thing today. In that second breath, you observe. First, your own state. I'm feeling rage right now. My hands want to shake. My voice wants to rise. You're not judging this. You're just noting it. Second, the other person's state. Are they actually angry or are they testing you? Are they loud because they're confident or because they're compensating for weakness? Is their body language aggressive or defensive? Third, the context. Who else is watching? What's really at stake here? Is this actually worth fighting over? This observation happens fast. You're not sitting there analyzing for 10 minutes. You're doing a rapid scan in 1 second. But that scan gives you something your attacker doesn't have. Information. Back to the meeting. Your boss just called you incompetent. You inhaled. Now you observe. I'm feeling humiliated. I want to defend myself. That's your state. Now his state. You notice his arms are crossed. His voice is slightly raised, but his eyes keep glancing at his own boss, who's also in the room. Suddenly, you realize something. He's not attacking you. He's performing for someone else. He's insecure and trying to look strong. This changes everything. Stage 3, the third second, respond. Now you have everything you need. You know your state. You know their state. You know the context. Only now do you choose how to respond. And here's what most people never understand. Responding is not reacting. Reacting is automatic. Responding is strategic. Musashi taught that there are 3 types of responses in any confrontation. The water response. You flow around the attack without resistance. The person insults you. You don't defend. You don't attack back. You simply acknowledge and move forward. I hear your concern. Let's talk about solutions. This diffuses without engaging. The rock response. You absorb the attack without moving. Someone yells at you. You stand there completely unmoved. No change in your face, no change in your voice. You wait until they're done. Then you speak calmly, as if nothing happened. Are you finished? Good. Here's what's actually happening. This demonstrates that their attack had 0 effect on you. The lightning response. You strike back with precision at their weakness. But this is not emotional. This is calculated. You observed in stage 2 that they're insecure. So you respond not with anger, but with a question that exposes it. Why are you telling me this instead of your boss? Now they're on defense. Which response you choose depends on your observation. There's no one right answer. Musashi sometimes flowed like water. Sometimes he stood like rock. Sometimes he struck like lightning. But he never, ever reacted blindly. Back to your boss. 3 seconds have passed. You've paused. You've observed. Now you respond. You choose the rock response. You look directly at him with 0 emotion on your face and say calmly, I understand you're frustrated. Let's schedule time after this meeting to discuss specifics. Your voice doesn't shake. Your body doesn't move. You just delivered a rock response, and everyone in that room just watched you do the impossible. You stayed calm while being attacked. That's power. But here's what separates amateurs from masters. Knowing the system isn't enough. You have to train it. Musashi didn't develop this rule by thinking about it. He developed it by practicing it thousands of times until it became automatic. You need to do the same. Here's how you train the 3-second rule in real life. Start small. Don't wait for a major crisis. Start with minor annoyances. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Instead of honking immediately, practice the 3 seconds. Pause, breathe, observe. I'm annoyed. They probably didn't see me. This doesn't actually matter. Respond. You don't honk. You just drive. That's 1 repetition. Someone posts something stupid on social media that makes you angry. Old you would type a response immediately. New you practices the 3 seconds. Pause, breathe, observe. I'm triggered. They want attention. Responding gives them what they want. Respond. You don't comment. You scroll past. That's another repetition. Your partner says something passive-aggressive. Must be nice to have time to watch TV. Old you would defend immediately. New you practices the 3 seconds. Pause, breathe, observe. I'm feeling attacked. They're actually feeling neglected and expressing it badly. Respond. Sounds like you need some attention. Want to talk about your day? You just turned a fight into a connection. That's mastery. Every single day, life gives you dozens of opportunities to practice this rule. The key is recognizing them and using them as training. After a month of practicing on small triggers, you'll notice something. The 3 seconds start happening automatically. Your brain learns the pattern. When something major happens, when your boss actually does insult you in front of everyone, your trained response kicks in without effort. You pause, observe, respond. It's not a technique anymore. It's who you are. But let me warn you about the traps. The first trap is fake pausing. This is when you pause physically but not mentally. Your mouth is quiet, but your mind is screaming. You're just waiting for your turn to explode. This doesn't work. The pause must be genuine. You're actually letting go of the reactive impulse, not just delaying it. The second trap is over-observation. Some people get so caught up in analyzing that they never respond. They're paralyzed by trying to see every angle. Musashi would have been killed by this. 3 seconds means 3 seconds. Pause, observe, respond. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. The third trap is weak responses. You did everything right. You paused. You observed. Then you respond with something passive-aggressive or weak. Well, I guess you're right. That's not a response. That's surrender. Your response must be deliberate and strong, even if it's choosing silence. And here's the final thing Musashi understood that most people miss. The 3-second rule isn't about winning arguments. It's about transcending them. When you pause, observe, and respond, you're no longer playing the same game as the person attacking you. They're operating on instinct and emotion. You're operating on strategy and clarity. You're not trying to beat them. You're simply showing them that their attack has no power over you. And that, more than any clever comeback, is what true strength looks like. Musashi wrote something in his final days that captures this perfectly. The warrior's path is not about defeating others. It's about not being defeated by yourself. Every time you react on impulse, you defeat yourself. Every time you pause, observe, and respond, you win. 3 seconds. That's all it takes to separate warriors from fools. Today, someone will test you. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's a stranger on the internet. When that moment comes, you have a choice. Will you react like everyone else? Or will you pause, observe, and respond like Musashi? The 3-second rule isn't just a technique. It's a way of life. And once you master it, you'll never lose control again. Not because you're suppressing your emotions, but because you've learned to use them instead of being used by them. Now go, train. And remember, every confrontation is practice. Every trigger is an opportunity. 3 seconds is all you need.